So the rate of unintended pregnancy in our country is about 50%. Now think about that for a second. And this is not an issue I ever really thought about before. But when I came to realize that what so often happens when a woman delivers a baby as a result of a pregnancy that was not intended at the time of conception, oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes she has to drop out of school or drop out of the workforce. Sometimes the father may have to drop out of school, and oftentimes it's a difficult start for the baby. Sometimes so difficult it's really challenging to get back on track. And so for me, when I thought about that, and it was really brought to my attention by Mark Edwards, who runs an organization called Upstream USA. He used to run Opportunity Nation. Fantastic guy, and he came to see me and he said, he had worked, as I did as governor, but he had worked on every issue from early childhood education to criminal justice reform to vocational education and everything in between. And he had come to the conclusion that the most important thing we could do to help all people achieve their potential was really to empower women to have their babies when they were ready for them. And so what happens, the typical woman, I know this is not a conversation people ever expect me to be leading.
I was going to say, you're not really the voice for typical women, but it's okay, continue.
No, I'm not. But the typical, if a woman is on the pill for 10 years, she has a 61% chance of getting pregnant because of a lack of compliance. And it turns out that there are more effective methods. And this is, favored by the American Council of Gynecologists, by the CDC, and that's the long-acting reversible contraceptives, the implant and the IUD. And the more I learned about this, I said, we have got to do something in Delaware to reduce the rate of unintended pregnancy, because this is one of the best opportunities we will have to help all people actually achieve their potential and to go as far as they want to go. And so we really, when you talk about challenging the healthcare system, we changed the healthcare system over the last several years so that when a woman of childbearing age has an interaction with the healthcare system, she is now asked whether she intends to get pregnant in the next year. And if the answer is yes, then she's connected with the appropriate preconception and prenatal care. And if the answer is no, she's made aware of the full range of methods. And we have trained our health providers throughout the state, not only how to place these devices, but we've trained the coders, the billers, the schedulers in the office. We've changed policies. It used to be a very good time to ask a woman whether she intends to have a baby in the next year is when she's in the hospital delivering a baby. And oftentimes she would like to wait for purposes of birth spacing and other purposes. But historically, if she has said, no, I don't want to have a baby next year, she's been told that she has to come back in 2 or 4 or 6 weeks.
Having had 3 children, that was the last question I was thinking about the next day.
I'm sure.
That's a good point.
But what's happened is because they're told to come back in 2 or 4 or 6 weeks, oftentimes they don't come back because they're so overwhelmed. And they end up pregnant instead. And the reason that they were told to come back in 2 or 4 or 6 weeks is because the reimbursement policies did not allow the physician or the hospital to be reimbursed for a postpartum placement of a long-acting reversible contraceptive. So we changed that policy, and so what we've seen is a huge increase in postpartum placements. And so literally within the first 3 years, we've seen a 24% reduction in unintended pregnancy. I mean, it's massive compared to a 3% reduction across the country at the same time. We're seeing a similar decrease in abortion, and we expect that to continue to increase. So it's really it's been an amazing thing to see. And what's really exciting, they talk a lot about states being the laboratories of democracy. So now Washington State has committed to do this. It's happening right here in Massachusetts, and it's happening in North Carolina. Those are the